All right, everybody, welcome out to another episode of Windshield Time at Mountainland Supply. I'm Joey. I'm here with Brandon, our CEO.
Hey, everyone.
And I'm here with Spencer Shorts as well.
Hello. Don't
and
you
that's
do
enough
it.
out of you.
Oh, man.
Almost gave him his 3 seconds of fame there. So speaking of fame, we have recently found out that for some unknown reason, there are some windshield wipers that are not of our company that listen to this. And just full transparency, because we wanted to have the availability and the ease of access for this podcast, we went with the public profile
Access,
on it.
yeah.
So this is available to the world. And beyond our two mothers, we didn't think anybody else in the world wanted to listen to this. But apparently there's some industry friends that want to check out what Brandon and Joey got going on a weekly basis. And Spencer Shorts, what he's got going on a weekly basis.
That's really why they're here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, he chummed him in.
Oh.
So they want to see the expertise of Spencer Shorts hard at work, so they tune in. So because of that, today we're going to be talking about kind of finances and as they relate to bonuses. And because you guys already have all the ins and outs and the nuts and bolts and the specifics from your management, we are not going to be specifically talking about numbers, but we are going to be talking about calculations and spirit behind things and the reasons why we do things. So it's going to kind of be a little bit higher overview of what we what we said in the past. And in more transparency, we already recorded one of these episodes.
Yeah.
That's going to find itself on the editing room floor, as they say, right, Shorts?
Yeah, I'll listen to it on my own.
At night.
Yeah, pervert. So, with that being said, September is been historically, for the last 5 years anyway, when we have paid a bonus to our employees. And that's because our fiscal year end is at the end of July. By the time our auditors come in and we are able to do a little bit more of the closing of our books, we get a better picture of where our profitability from the previous year is by the time the second pay period in September rolls around.
Yeah.
Is that's fair?
Yeah, and it's, man, it also goes back to an IRS rule.
Right.
And so in the IRS, it says that if you accrue a bonus, then you have 2.5 months to pay that out. So we, before we became an ESOP, we would have to look at that kind of stuff and take that into consideration. So we always waited 2.5 months to be able to pay. And then we've always shortened it up one pay period. So it'd be the second pay period of the month or of the second month, just to give us enough of a buffer. And that's because I'm a worrywart. I don't like to push it. And so I just want to do that. And so then when we became an ESOP, we just kind of took that same timing and said, everybody's used to it. There's no reason to change it.
Right.
But with that being said, because of we don't really care about the implications on the IRS side anymore because of the ESOP and things of that nature, it's really easy to we can change it.
Right.
We can do it. It's just there's different things on the IRS side. So
Well, and we want to be consistent. We want to be able to help people with their expectations.
we want some predictability to
Right.
it. I think that helps out a lot. So keeping it and being consistent and predictable, I mean, it's
Right.
That's why I've kept doing it.
So from a galloping horse, our bonus is
From a galloping horse.
just a quick view.
I swear.
It's better than a 30,000 foot level.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
So you're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
From a galloping horse, our bonuses that we have been doing historically, we are the way that this year shaped up. We saw some interesting things within the economy, not just the economy within our footprint, but the economy nationally and globally.
Yeah.
We are not alone in the things that affect us, economically speaking. Our industry feels it. The country feels it. The rise in inflation and the cost of goods had gone up, along with labor costs and basically every other cost of doing business, fuel costs, insurance costs. Everything has gone up. As that comes up, that brings up your costs of doing business. As if your profitability doesn't outpace those costs, then you're going to have less gross profit to go around. And everything that we do is based off of gross and net profit. That's how we calculate our value for our ESOP. That's how we're able to pay bonuses. And as that margin shrinks, you just don't have as much money to go around.
Yeah.
It's economics. Same thing happens in your home. If your cost is going up on your mortgage, but your earnings are staying the same
or going down,
guess what? Your savings are going to go down, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just shrinking that margin. That's a really, really, I guess, reductionist view of what
rudimentary view of it,
of what's kind of gone on this last year. There's a lot of things we can talk about.
I think that
went into it.
I think that's a great analogy, though. I mean, if you think about it, because what's happened is, within our company, we saw the top line grow.
Yep.
So we saw revenue grow and at a steady pace.
At a great pace.
Yeah, at a brisk pace. Now, really, that's a great thing to measure within our company, in that we do need to focus on that. And we've focused on that in the past few years. But that's all good if profitability, so gross profit, the margin is following that as well.
Right.
And what we've seen over the last 3 years is actually it's come down. And so this past year, so we're seeing the revenue go up, but we're actually seeing the profitability go down. And really that's the compression. So that's your earnings. If you take your analogy with the family, that's the earnings, and the earnings are actually coming down. It's basically our gross pay is going up, but more taxes are being taken out, if you want to think about it that way.
Or your interest rates are going up on your mortgage. You had an adjustable rate or something.
But out of my paycheck, I'm seeing that gross wage is going up, but what actually hits my account is less because more things are being taken out. It's costing more to actually work now. Maybe I hit the next tax bracket or something like that. So now what I'm actually getting in my account every paycheck is less.
Yeah.
Then it should be more, or maybe it's about the same than what I was making a year ago before the raise.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're seeing. And then also on top of that, then what we're seeing is the cost of business, our expenses are going up. And so basically, in your analogy with the family, now my interest rates are going up. Now my utility bills are going up. Food's going up. Fuel costs are going up. And so now that money that I'm actually getting in my bank account is not going as far.
Yeah.
And so basically that within our business, that's what's happening. And so then whatever's left over at the end of the day, that could go into a savings, or I could use for vacations, for play money, whatever you do with your money, there's less of it.
Yeah.
That's happening. And so within our company, that's what we've seen is we're having less money hit the bank. The cost of doing business is going up. So everything that we have left over to pay bonuses, for example, to reinvest back into the company to buy more inventory, there's actually less than what we had a year ago before we got the raise, before we had that increase in the revenue.
Right.
And so it's kind of an interesting thing that we've seen this last year. In all the years in my whole entire career, I haven't quite seen something like this, to be honest with you, with the rate of inflation, how it's gone up. Seeing a company progress the way that we're doing and on the top line, but just seeing the profitability. Now, the profitability, we talk about that, and everybody needs to know that this is something that we have been looking at for the last few months. I think it's a good question to ask. Well, when did you guys actually know, like, when this is all, coming down and that we weren't going to get a bonus? I'd tell you probably all the way up until the end of the year, because there were certain things that were in play that we were wondering, hey, man, what's going on? But we were watching it probably in May really closely, saying, hey, there's some issues here. Potentially, if June pans out and July pans out, hey, we'll be able to pay a bonus. And then, June comes about and it's like, man, the profitability was way lower than what we were anticipating, what we had forecasted for. And so then there was a last-ditch hope for July that, hey, July might be able to pull us out here. And honestly, it never got there. It was kind of a...
one thing that's interesting with our company, specifically our industry, is we are very rebate sensitive.
Very much so.
So basically a rebate is, as you purchase product, the manufacturer incentivizes you to purchase that product by giving you a rebate or cash back after a certain period of time. And what's really interesting is that we'll take PVC pipe, for example. PVC pipe, you're paid a rebate based on pounds of product that you purchase. Now, if your price per pound is going up, then your revenue will go up because you're selling off of that price, right? but your pounds, the tonnage that you're buying, remains the same.
Yeah.
So you're really not increasing your rebate, but you are increasing the amount of price that you're paying for that product. So your inventory value goes up, but maybe your units stay the same. So you're not getting as much rebate as it relates to the price that you're paying, and so that constricts too. You're not gaining as much rebate as you maybe think you should be. Right?
Yeah. And an interesting thing about rebates too is it's maybe not as much, but it's still, we're highly dependent. Our profitability is highly dependent on that rebate. But in years past, 10, 11 years ago, all our profitability was just rebates.
Every single bit of it.
Every single penny. If we didn't have any rebates, we would have been profitable. We actually would have gone backwards. So we're not as, I wouldn't say that every penny of our profit is rebates now, but a significant portion is.
Well,
I would say it's still probably 75%.
And that's largely because we have diversified.
Exactly.
And that's why you've seen us over the years trying to get into different verticals that are less dependent upon a rebate schedule.
Yep.
Because then our business is more predictable.
And it's for sustainability for the business as well.
Right.
Long-term sustainability that we're looking for. And then, we're talking about the inventory. As stay on that topic for a minute. As costs have gone up in the past few years, honestly, our company is more profitable on that rise, because what we do is we end up buying and hedging. And so we're buying at the lower cost, able to sell at the higher cost. But now what we're starting to see is inventory is stabilized or it's actually coming down.
Right.
And so now as inventory is coming down, vendors are actually selling it cheaper out on the market. What happens is if you're a little bloated on your inventory, which we are right now.
And everybody in the industry.
Exactly. And I just came back from a national conference with everybody in other peers, 650 peers in our industry. And I would tell you that the majority, I'd actually say it's probably 80% of people are saying that they're bloated on inventory.
And the other 20% didn't answer the question.
Exactly.
So,
or it might be just a mom and pop shop.
They're an upstart.
Exactly. And they couldn't buy inventory through COVID.
Right.
And so they didn't have that problem. But a lot of people that are our size or a little bit smaller, they are having this issue right now. And so now I have this overinflated inventory, and it's honestly a little overvalued.
Right.
Because now I can go onto the market and buy it. So this is an example of why we need to be so efficient with our inventory, that we can't have too many things on hand, is because then it takes too long to be able to get through that inventory and bring in the cheaper inventory.
Right.
And so, but going through this whole process, as you kind of deplete yourself of the higher priced inventory, it's going to affect your COGS or your GP margin. So that's what we've seen this last year. So we saw that was the compression, the more taxes. So what's in our bank account is less. And then, we talk about the expense side. The expense side, in years past, in my history, looking at the finances for our company, when we've had an issue, it's been a glaring issue. It'd be like personnel expenses way out of whack, or it might be, marketing is way out of whack, or training is way out of whack. And it's just glaring at you on the financial statements, and you can just say, well, that's our issue right there, and point straight to it and say, this is what we got to do to fix it.
Yeah.
This year was so interesting because what we're seeing, and I would tell you it's probably been the last 2 years that we've kind of seen it with the inflation and everything. But this year is just a little bit more apparent. We were seeing it a little bit more, is these increases, instead of being like 2% too high, we're talking 0.1% too high. And it's 1/10 here, it's 2/10 here, and they all just started adding up. And so now we have the compression from the gross profit margin. And we just, over all of our accounts, we're just seeing a 0.1% up. Now it's just compressing it, right? And so it's, I think, we've been saying within our management group, it's almost like a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yep.
Is really what we've seen. And honestly, coming out of a period where we made some good money, we had some good margins, things of that nature, it really covered up a lot of this stuff. Now margins are coming down. You're not making as much money. These become more apparent.
Yeah.
And you have to be more sensitive to what's going on. And so that's what we saw in 2024 as we close out the year. Well,
so the other thing that we want to just let people know is, number one, we're not unique, that this is happening everywhere. And number two, we were still highly profitable last year.
oh yeah.
It's just we set a certain standard as an executive team for our company, right? And for ourselves that we want to hit. And we're really used to winning, and we're really used to doing the things and accomplishing the goals and actually out kicking it, right? And we didn't hit those goals some of those goals that we wanted to hit this year. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
So what do? You reevaluate, you reassess, you come up with some new strategies, and then you implement.
Yeah.
So this coming year, you all will see a lot of the changes that we're going to be making. Some of the, I guess, campaigns, for lack of a better word, that you're going to see rolling out are based around inventory reduction, getting the right inventory in the right places, making sure that we're rebalancing it so that we're not having to, if we don't need to buy it from a vendor, let's rebalance it from one of our other branches. You're going to be seeing a lot of that moving around, especially through the winter months in the Mountain West. We're going to be doing a lot of that, just so that we can get that right inventory balance, because we will not sacrifice customer service.
Yep.
At the same time. So you'll be seeing that coming through the next few months. But we're extremely optimistic for the coming year.
Yeah, I would say, over the past few months, it's been, there's been a lot of sleepless nights.
Most definitely.
Because, just
more gray in both our beards.
I'm losing more hair on top of my head as well. There's been a lot of contemplation and a lot of worry that has gone into this, because we know that the decisions that we make here at our level, it affects a lot of families.
Yep.
And, you want to be that guy that can help everybody. You want to be that guy that can, make sure that, Joe on the counter is able to provide for his family. You want to be able to help them. You don't want to be the guy that prohibits that.
Mm-hmm.
And we know a lot of people within our organization, I don't want to use the term live paycheck to paycheck, but I know a lot of people are dependent upon this bonus. And so even having a discussion about reduction of it was, it takes a lot, it takes a toll over time. And there was a lot of stress that was going on, within our lives, just being able to deal with that. But at the end of the day, you got to make a decision on behalf of 1,000 families.
Yep.
And you got to make sure that the company's, going in the right direction. We have a fiduciary responsibility that we're going to uphold. With this, a lot of people are like, well, just pay the money out. We still made a profit. We did make a profit. And we're still successful out in the market. I don't want people to think that this discussion and what's happening, oh my gosh, they're going to go bankrupt and, the sky is falling. That's not what's happening. We just need to get better at what we're doing. We need to get more efficient. But as you go through this and you have to make that decision, we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the company is still a viable company. And that's the decision that we're making, is to continue that viability. And in accounting, it's called going concern, making sure it's a going concern.
Yeah.
That it's still going to be around next year, and not just next year, because, you could pay a full bonus. We could pay 2 times the bonus, and guess what? We'd still be around in the next year. Will we be around in 5 years or 10 years? It'd make it harder right now if we did that,
right?
Because the decisions right now do have a long-term effect on the operations of the business. So we're trying to make sure that this is a going concern for decades, not just 1 year.
Well, everything we do as an employee-owned company is a long-term strategy.
Exactly.
Every single thing. If we were in it to just turn and burn, we'd be performing like a private equity firm.
Yeah.
And we'll milk as much out of this in the next 5 years, and we'll give you guys a lot of money in 5 years, but you're going to have nothing after that, because we're going to sell it to somebody else.
Exactly. And actually, through this whole period, as we're trying to get ready for the turn, there's going to be no bonuses.
Yeah,
and by
exactly.
the way, all commissions, we're taking those back.
Yeah.
And by the way, we need you to cut down your personnel expense. We have a goal of 12.5% of revenue.
Yeah.
That needs to be 10.5
or less.
Yeah. And no overtime.
Yeah.
Nothing. It would be, it's a totally different, you're right. Everything we do it's a long-term play.
And especially some of the things that we did last year in the fiscal year, some of the growth that you saw us take on is an investment in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Putting some of the locations that we put in are an investment in the future. An acquisition that we made is an investment in the future. We're trying to make sure that we're balancing growth, strategic growth, while still being conservative in our finances.
Yep.
We're really just trying to strike that balance, and it sometimes that comes at the cost of some sleepless nights on our part.
And, that's our responsibility. That's what we signed up for. But you're exactly right. These, we had these other pressures. We talked about the financial side, but then also some of the things that we're doing this past year, and some, affects the financial side, but we're not trying to get a 1-year boost here.
Right.
We're not trying to get a 2-year boost. We're looking for, how does this bring income for the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to the company? How is this going to increase the ESOP value so that those people that are retiring in the next decade are going to see the benefit of that right, at that time when they retire, not right now.
Right.
And so, the decisions that we make are a lot towards that. And one thing that people don't understand is like the bonus, for example. I'm going to come back to the bonus right here for a second. Paying money out right now or holding the money within the company, either way, the people are going to get it.
Right.
So
because there is no way to hold money back.
No, they're within an ESOP company.
Brandon can't create a stash fund for us,
Exactly.
just to have on a rainy day. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And so a lot of if Joey and I just owned the company,
right.
If we decide we're not paying a bonus, well, we're going to hold that money back. Well, the beneficiaries of that are really Joey and I.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
But within an ESOP company, what happens is if we don't pay a bonus, then what happens is the company holds it. Well, the share value will be affected by that.
And so you pay it out in share value.
Exactly. So you're going to see that in ESOP value later on when you retire. But now if you pay it out right now the people get the money, but that might affect your ESOP value going forward. So it's this juggling act, it's this balancing act that we have to go through to make sure that, because we don't want our people, there was I'm not going to say the name. I think I know you probably will, but I'm not going to say the name.
I'm not going to say the name. I already said it once.
You said it once in the last episode.
It's in the ether at this point.
And by the way, can I make a comment about that? That episode, this is why bonuses are so finicky, because what people don't realize is we recorded that, about a week ago?
Yeah.
I think it was a week ago.
Yeah, 10 days ago.
10 days ago. Thinking in our head as management, we had a proposal that this is what's going to happen. And so management, this is the process of the bonus. By the way, the bonus is a discretionary bonus, right? And so that means that there's no set rules, that we don't have to do, pay X amount. It's derived by management, really. And management makes a proposal, takes it to the board has to approve it.
And determines whether it's affordable.
Exactly.
Or if it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Because they look at it culturally also.
They do. And I would tell you that they probably, I would say they give equal weight to either side of it, on the finance side and also the cultural side. Anyways, we hashed this out forever as a management team. And we thought that we had the plan. We knew the recommendation. We actually had brought the next level in, that all the people that report to a director or to an executive, we asked them their opinion. We told them this is what we're going to do. And then we went to our board meeting last week ago. Last week. It was a week from today. We went to our board meeting. Here's our proposal, board. And we probably, in a 5-hour meeting, we spent 90 minutes just talking about this.
And then another 30 after we broke.
Exactly. And then there's been conversations afterwards, individually, to the point. So that was on a Friday. So then Monday we come back together and it's changed.
Yeah.
And so this is why, people are like, if you knew what the bonus was going to be paid, why don't you tell us? We don't tell you
hours changed it.
Right, exactly. We need to go through the correct steps. And so this is how fluid the bonus discussion is. Mm-hmm. And so the one that we recorded thinking this is what the bonus is going to pay out at, changed, and it was less than what actually is being paid.
Right.
And so it was even a little bit more depressing of a podcast,
right?
Or more difficult, I should say. But we said, hey, we're changing that, and we ended up changing it. And so now we're actually re-recording it for this purpose on this. So this is why, by the way, on the bonuses, we can't just come out and
say what it is.
Hey, this is where it's at. And because I went on that tangent, now I lost my train of thought here. You're supposed to help me bring it back.
So let me help you a little bit. So let's segue into timing because we talked about it. So we opened the podcast by saying the timing by which we pay it out.
Yeah.
That paying in September, in full transparency, is a difficult time for us to take on a large hit on our finances because most of our receivables come in the later months after our heavy summer. So we have a heavy summer of high sales in the fall months, and going into the winter months is when we receive all that in payments from our customers. So in November, December, sometime a little bit into January, we have the best cash in the bank possible.
Yeah, best cash flow.
So in order for us to kind of flatten out that curve of paying out the bonus and the hit that takes on our cash flow, we are now going to change the way that we're doing it moving forward.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're realizing what you just touched on, which is getting money into the hands of our employees faster, and trying to help everybody out there try and get a little bit more money more often, right?
Now that you said that, now I remember.
Okay.
It was the article.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't going to say the name, right?
We're not saying the name. The name shall not be named.
They're not going to be named. But I remember when
Company to be named later.
So I'll just go down this quick tangent. I'll make it maybe 45 seconds here. But so there's a company out there that I remember when we were looking at doing an ESOP. I've read this news article, and it was talking about ESOPs, how these people that are making their low income, I shouldn't say low income, that's mean, but they're not very high on the pay scale, let's just say. And then they're retiring after working 30 years and they're millionaires, instant millionaires.
Snap of a finger.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I'm like, man, that's so awesome. Yeah. Like that's exactly what I want for our people. As I've matured and understand more about the ESOP and the community and have talked with other people, things, my opinion has changed.
Yeah.
And my thought process is I don't want them making minimum wage for their whole entire career and then all of a sudden becoming millionaires.
Overnight.
That's not, I don't think that's the right response or a fiduciary responsibility that we have. We want to make sure that they can have a respectable living, a decent living, and then also still have a respectable retirement as well.
And hopefully that curve basically means that you still have the same lifestyle.
Yep.
You can maintain that same lifestyle post-retirement that you did during your working years.
Yep.
That's what our goal is as management.
Exactly. And honestly, if you in retirement, if you have a few of those goals, like, hey, I want to go on a vacation, I want to pay for my grandkids' schooling, stuff like that.
Then you should be able to do that.
That's what we want you to be able to retire with dignity.
Right.
Is kind of what we look at. So anyways, but getting the money to the people is the decision that, there's a balancing act that goes in between that. And so how do you do that? Well, bonusing is one of the ways that we can do that.
It's a great vehicle.
Exactly. And wages is a different one. And so as we talk about it with the ESOP, when we talk about wages and bonuses, we are looking at that. It's a balancing act of saying, how do we get money into the people's hands, but yet how do we create this ESOP value? So going back to the bonus going forward now, and when we talk about the bonus going forward, even with this and even with, the announcement that we just made this week, we're still giving ourselves, there's a caveat to this that we can still make changes to this. What you're hearing is where our minds are going, where we think we're going to go, but we're still ironing out a lot of these
fluid
details.
situation.
It is. And so things can be changed. So sometimes we get people when we say something and then all of a sudden we change it. It's like, well, I thought that was how it was going to be. And it's like, no. We have that because we might get more information to make a better decision as we go through along this process. So moving towards a quarterly bonus is kind of the direction that we're going. And I think we're going to get there. I like the idea. I really do. And the main reason is now we're getting that cash into people's hands sooner, quicker, so that they can actually use it instead of waiting till the end of the year.
Right.
So, and I really like the timing of some of these because, for example, the end of our first quarter, August, September, October's our last month. Well, that means that most likely in a November or a December, we haven't figured out the timing exactly, a bonus would be coming
prior
out.
to the holidays.
Exactly. And I think that would be super beneficial for people to be able to get that in their hands.
Right.
And as
it would be meaningful.
Exactly. And as we start looking at that, like at the very end of the year, maybe we can push it up instead of a September, maybe it's an August that we can look at. Well, that August one, now everybody's going back to school. And Joe, you got 4 kids. I got 4 kids.
Yeah.
I know that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so, man, can that help those families out with kids, that can help them get the materials that they need, pay for the school fees? Because school fees, I don't know how they charge so much and still take so much property tax, but they do. And anyways, that's a whole nother podcast to talk about. But the timing of these are, I think, just line up really well for what's happening in the lives of people and how we can help them. So getting that out there faster is one thing. And then we talked about, here's where we're maybe more fluid is, what's the criteria? When do we say, yes, we're going to pay a bonus, and no, we're not going to pay a bonus? This next year is going to be a really good, it's an experiment. It's going to be a learning process for all of us to say, well, this is what we like, and this is what we don't like. And then sometimes what people don't realize is we put these criteria out there and we realize what we think it's going to incentivize actually incentivizes something totally different, or there's a byproduct
so
of it.
we got to pivot.
And it's like, holy crap. Mom, I didn't swear. I'm
First
sorry.
one. I don't think your mother's going to care about it.
Actually, I probably.
Your wife.
She would.
Yeah.
My mom would probably. Yeah, there you go. Actually, I shouldn't say this. Mom, I'm sorry, but I learned my swearing from my mom because.
We might have our first edit.
It's fine. You can leave it in. You can leave it in.
You just let me know.
Anyways, but it incentivizes something that's a byproduct that you're just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Like, that's not what we expected.
Right.
Even though you've spent so many hours trying to vet it out and try and get in front of it and understand it, I'm telling you right now that just because of all of our experience, it's just like something will happen that we won't know.
So I think it's important for people to understand that we're not asking for anybody to feel sorry for us. This is our job.
No.
At the same time, we need you to know that we spend a lot of time working on these things and trying to figure out the best, most equitable way for everybody to benefit from this type of decision. It's not something we take lightly.
No.
We're not asking for you to feel bad for us for making a decision. That's our job. We just want you to know that we're not taking it lightly. We take this responsibility very, very heavily.
It's more of, we don't sit around a table and in 10 minutes come up with a decision and say, there you go. Because
lots of deliberation.
I think a lot of people just think that, it's not half-cocked when we make it. We try and vet this through. And especially for me, being an analytical guy, being an accountant, I want to know everything. Mm-hmm. I want to try, give me, what's scenario A, scenario B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. I want to know what's going to happen. And if this happens, what are we going to do here? How are we going to do this? I think we've talked about this. We took a test one time within our executive team, quick start.
Yeah.
And basically that's like, how long does it take for you to get onto an idea and be fully supportive of that idea? And, ask you a bunch of questions, and it's on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being like, you are a turtle, an armadillo, and you do not want to do it. You just ball up and wait for everything to happen. And then maybe if there's like a natural event or a God event,
cosmic shift,
then you might actually move on something.
Right.
Where 10, it's like, I can tell you an idea. And you're like, dang it, let's get on it. Let's do this. Why haven't we done this yet?
Right.
And I think, do you remember your number?
7.
You're a 7. So Joey's a 7. And I think out of everybody,
I think Calvert was an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben was pretty close. He was a 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I was a 2.
Yeah.
I do not move fast.
I think Bruce was even a 3. I think he was a little bit higher.
I think he was a little bit higher than me. I want to know anything and everything about what the decision that we're making. I think sometimes it frustrates people, but I just want to make sure that I know all my different options before we have to choose an option.
Right.
Make a decision on something. So when we talk about this, again, yes, we're not looking for pity. And we're not trying to, we're not being martyrs here or look at us and cry. We're not, no. We just want to illustrate to you that we do consider this. We do spend time on this. This is something that we consider because we know that the decisions that we make have a huge effect on 1,000 families.
Yep.
And we don't take it lightly. And we don't want to, I'm one, and Joe, I know you're this way too. I hate putting stuff out there and yanking it back. I hate yanking people's chains on this. And so it's just, let's try and figure out the best. But at the same time, I'm going to be the first one to tell you that we're not always going to be right.
And if we need to adjust, we will.
Exactly. And I will be the first one to tell you that we're wrong.
Yep.
And that we need to move on it. I am not going to be so set on, well, that's the decision. That's my decision. We're going to follow this one out. No, man. If it's wrong, let's pull the plug and let's start going in the right direction as soon as we can.
Yep.
Let's try and fix this. So, I'm slow to make a decision, but quick to make a change
to fix it.
Exactly. If we need to be. And I feel like that's a pretty good mixture with the dynamic that we have on our team. It works out really, really well that way.
So maybe, I know we're probably getting long, so maybe we just sum up. So number one, we're not exempt from economic conditions.
No.
Number two, we still outperformed our market and our peers by levels of magnitude, really.
Yeah.
In terms of how we weathered it.
Yeah.
Number three, that has an impact on what we can pay out in a bonus.
Yeah.
Number four, we're optimistic for the future. And number five, we have a plan to move forward.
Yeah. And maybe in another podcast, we should talk about 2025.
Yeah, I think
where we're going.
Our goals.
I will tell you right now that as we talk about 2025, I'll just give you a little bit of sentiment here. I'm extremely excited. I think some of the things that we're changing, some of the things we're doing, really the focus is to be focusing on what we have already, not focusing on what we can have. It's in our geographical areas. It's on our processes. We're not expanding. We're not looking to open up new stores. We are just looking to focus on what we have right now and become better at what we're doing.
Yeah.
Refining those processes. We might need to get new processes, things of that nature. 2025 is going to be a year of regrouping, fortifying ourselves, and being ready for the future.
Yeah.
And we have a phenomenal team. We have a phenomenal team. I can't say that enough times. And I'm not talking about our executive team.
No.
I mean, we have a good team, but the next level down, holy cow, we have some people that are just, they're crazy brilliant. They're phenomenal. They're great leaders. They're in those seats for a reason. We see that. We know that. We're all as a whole, we're going to go places.
Yeah.
We've made I've been using a new kind of phrase, so you'll hear it from me a few times, but we've made some bold decisions. I think some people have seen that. And the expectation is bold results.
Yeah.
We're going to get our hands dirty. We're not afraid. We're not going to put our head in the sand. We're going to take the bull by the horns, and we're going to get this fixed. And this 2025 year, I think it's going to end up phenomenal.
I think it's going to be shocking.
Yeah.
I think because when we put something on paper and we all do it together, we're always wildly over successful.
Yeah.
And I think that through our new processes that we're already starting to implement, we're going to be getting information out to everybody in the company faster.
Yeah.
So that you all are tracking right along with us and you can be part of that effort as we row in the same direction. I think that's what's going to be really it's going to move the needle. Yep. Is everybody's going to be efforting at the same time. So yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm pumped.
So I'll just close with this really quick. People, 2025, you're right. It's going to be the people that are going to make the difference for us. It's going to be everyone listening to this podcast. It's going to be all 1,000 of us. It's going to be the people. And what's happened in 2024, the successes that we did have successes. People need to take away from this that we were successful. The money that we're paying out in a bonus is because of you.
Yep.
We wouldn't be able to do that without you. Every single one of you. It's not just, I don't want someone listening to this thinking that, well, the company would have just kept going on without me. No, we would have been different without you. It's the one that we're worried about. Our company is or who we are because of all 1,000 people, employee owners that we have. And I can't tell you how much of a privilege it is to be able to work in this company and to be able to rub shoulders with everybody and to have a common goal and a vision, to be able to be rowing in the same direction. I often don't think about working at a different company because I don't want to. I love what we do. I love what we stand for. I love our culture, which is made up of our people. It is such a privilege and a blessing to be able to be here and to honestly be able to make these decisions on behalf of everybody. And people ask me what keeps me up at night in my position. And they always get kind of surprised because they think that I'm going to give the answer. Oh, it's going to be my competitor down the road. It's going to be this economic condition. It's going to be this. Those are usually things I can't control. So I'm not going to stress out about them. What I do care and what I do lose sleep on is our culture, is our people, making sure that I'm doing right by them, that our team, our executive team is doing right. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing to protect them and to help them out and to making sure that they can have a life with dignity. Those are the things that we worry about, that we stress out about. And honestly, it's because we love every one of you. And you might think that I haven't seen you. I've never met you before. How could you love me? I'm going to tell you right now, there's a love there for you. Even without that, just because you've decided to be part of our family, I want to take care of you because I love you. And Joey, I know you feel the same way. Our executive team feels the same way, but we would not be where we're at today if we didn't have the people that we have on the bus within our company. It's such a phenomenal thing. And honestly, every day I wake up just feeling so blessed to be a part of it, have a small part in what we're doing here at Mountainland. So anyways, huge thank you to everybody out there. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for the trust that you have in us to be able to do this. I know it's hard, especially with this past week. I'm going to tell you that I think I jumped on a Zoom call with our management. That was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, that meeting. I knew it was the right thing to do. We had to do it, but it was hard because I felt like we were letting people down at that point. And my heart broke. I'm not going to lie. Got emotional a little bit afterwards. And so anyways, phenomenal people we work with. And it's just a privilege to be with you guys. So thank you so much for all you do.
The company is the people.
Amen, brother.
And we love you all. So thank you. And thanks for trusting us. Enjoy the rest of your week. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one, everyone.